So last week, I'm at a family barbecue, right? And my uncle, classic Gen Xer, 48 years old, pulls up in a brand new Ford F-150. Gorgeous truck, $62,000. And he's showing it off, talking about the heated seats, the towing capacity, all of it. Meanwhile, my cousin, she's 32, a total millennial, she's standing there shaking her head going, "Uncle Mike, you're going to be making payments until you're 55." And I'm thinking, okay, she's got a point. Then we sit down to eat, and my cousin starts complaining about how her 2019 Honda Civic payment just went up because she had to refinance it. She's paying $480 a month for a used Civic. And I'm like, wait, what? So I went home that night and I can't stop thinking about it. Because here's two different generations, both absolutely convinced they're making the smart choice with their car, and both of them are just bleeding money. And honestly, I see this everywhere. My Gen X coworkers, my millennial friends, everyone's got a car payment, everyone thinks theirs makes sense, and nobody's actually doing the math. My name is Rayhan, and I spend way too much time thinking about why we're all so broke, and it usually comes back to the driveway. If you're someone who's ever said, "I deserve a nice car," or "it's just $400 a month," or if you've ever justified keeping a car payment because "I always have one anyway," make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're going to break down exactly how Gen X and Millennials are handling car debt, why both generations have completely different excuses for the same mistake, and what you need to do right now to stop letting your car destroy your wealth. Alright, so here's what got me started on this whole thing. I was talking to my friend Marcus. He's 44, solidly Gen X, and he told me he just traded in his 2020 Toyota Highlander for a 2025 model. I'm like, "Bro, your car was 5 years old. What was wrong with it?" And he goes, "Nothing was wrong with it, Rayhan. That's exactly why I traded it in. Got top dollar for it, avoided any major repairs, and now I'm locked in at 6.9% for the next 6 years. It's smart money management." Smart money management. 6 years of payments in a car he didn't need. Then the next day, I'm grabbing coffee with my friend Sarah, she's 29, and she's stressed because her car payment is $520 a month, and she's trying to figure out how to make it work with her student loans. So I asked her, "What'd you buy?" She goes, "A 2021 Mazda CX-5, used so it was a good deal, only $32,000. Only $32,000 for a used Mazda. And I'm sitting there like, both of these people think they made completely different choices, but they're both doing the exact same thing. They're both signing up for years of payments. They're both losing massive amounts of money to depreciation and interest. They're both convinced they're being responsible. Look, I'm not here to shame anyone. I used to have a car payment. I get it. But here's the thing. The auto industry has done such an incredible job of conditioning us to think this is normal that we don't even question it anymore. So let me show you what's actually happening, because the numbers are kind of shocking. According to Experian's latest automotive finance data, the average Gen Xer is carrying $22,612 in auto loan debt. Millennials, $21,570. Pretty close, right? But when you dig deeper, the story gets way more interesting. Gen X is financing an average of $41,018 per vehicle at 6.8% interest over 68 months. That's a $687 monthly payment. Millennials are financing $28,347 per vehicle at 8.2% interest over 73 months. That's a $426 monthly payment. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Rayhan, so Gen X buys more expensive cars but gets better rates. Millennials buy cheaper cars but pay more interest. Makes sense based on income and credit, right? Sure, on the surface, but here's what most people don't realize. The reason behind these numbers is completely different for each generation, and understanding this is crucial. Gen X grew up in the 80s and 90s when trading in your car every few years was literally marketed as smart financial planning. I remember my dad, total Gen Xer, sitting at the dinner table with these automotive magazines circling trade-in values. He genuinely believed, and still believes, that you should never own a car long enough to need major repairs. Stay ahead of the depreciation curve, he'd say, which is ironic because he was always on the depreciation curve, he just kept starting over. This generation was taught that new cars equal success, that a nice car in the driveway means you've made it. My Uncle Mike, the one with the F-150, he told me, "Rayhan, I worked hard my whole life. I deserve to drive something nice." And look, I get that. I respect that. But deserving something and being able to afford something are two completely different conversations. Millennials, on the other hand, grew up watching their parents lose their homes in 2008. They're terrified of unnecessary debt. So they tell themselves, I'm being responsible, I'm buying used, I'm being smart about this. But the problem is they're buying used cars at near new car prices because the used car market has been absolutely destroyed over the last few years. Remember 2021 and 2022 when used car prices went insane? A lot of millennials bought during that time and they're still stuck in those loans. My friend Sarah, that 2021 Mazda CX-5 she bought for $32,000, that car sold for $28,000 brand new in 2021. She paid more for it than someone else paid for it, and she's sitting there thinking she made a smart choice because it wasn't brand new. All right, let me show you the actual math on this, because this is where people's eyes start to open. Let's start with the Gen X scenario. You're 45, you buy a $41,000 SUV at 6.8% interest over 68 months. Your payment is $687. Here's what actually happens. Month 1 through 12, you pay $8,224. About $2,300 goes to interest. Your car is now worth $34,000. You've lost $7,000 in value and paid $2,300 in interest. You're down $9,300 in year 1. Month 13 through 24, you pay another $8,224, another $1,900 to interest. Your car is now worth $29,000. You've lost another $5,000 in value. Over 2 years, you've paid $16,488 and your car is worth $29,000. You still owe about $28,000. But here's where it gets really interesting. According to IHS Mark, the average Gen Xer doesn't keep the car for 68 months. They trade it in around 52 months. So at month 52, you've paid $35,732 total. The car is worth about $21,000. You still owe roughly $11,000. So you have $10,000 in equity. And what does the typical Gen Xer do? They take that $10,000 in equity and use it as a down payment on another $41,000 car, starting the whole cycle over again. So every 4 to 5 years, they're basically giving the dealership $10,000 to drive a car. That's $2,000 to $3,000 per year just evaporating, plus the $8,224 a year in payments. They're spending over $10,000 a year to drive a car that never actually gets paid off. Now, let's look at the millennial scenario. You're 30 years old, you buy a $28,000 used car at 8.2% interest over 73 months. Your payment is $426. You're thinking, at least I'm not spending $687 a month like those Gen Xers. But here's the problem. That 8.2% interest rate is crushing you. Over 73 months, you're going to pay $31,098 total. That's $3,098 in interest on a car that was already used when you bought it. And here's the really brutal part. Used cars depreciate too. That $28,000 car, it's worth $22,000 after a year, then $18,000, then $15,000. By the time you pay it off in 73 months, it's maybe $12,000. So you paid $31,098 for something worth $12,000. You lost $19,098 over 6 years. That's $3,183 per year. Okay, Rehan, but I needed a car to get to work. I know, I'm not saying you don't need a car. I'm saying the way we're all buying cars is absolutely insane. So here's what's really going on. Both generations are making the same fundamental mistake, they just have different stories they tell themselves about why it's okay. Gen X says, I've worked hard, I deserve this. Life's too short to drive a beater. Plus, I'm staying ahead of major repairs and I always have a warranty. Millennials say, I'm being responsible by buying used. I'm not like those boomers buying brand new cars. I did my research, I got a good deal. This is just temporary until I pay off my student loans. Both of these are lies we tell ourselves to justify a decision we've already made emotionally. This might sting a little. For most people, your car is the single biggest obstacle between you and wealth. Not your student loans, not your mortgage, your car. Let me show you why. The average American has a car payment for 42 years of their life, let's say from age 23 to 65. The average car payment right now is about $550 a month. $550 a month for 42 years is $277,200. But wait, it gets worse. Because what if instead of making car payments, you invested that $550 a month in a boring index fund averaging 10% annual returns? After 42 years, you'd have $4.2 million. $4.2 million. But Rayhan, I need a car. I just can't have transportation. I didn't say I don't have a car. I said I don't have a car payment. Here's what both Gen X and millennials are missing. The wealthiest people I know, the actual millionaires, they're not driving around in brand new cars making $687 payments. You know what they're driving? Paid off Toyota Camrys, paid off Honda Accords, 10-year-old Lexuses they bought in cash for $12,000. Because here's what they understand that most people don't. A car is not an investment. It's not a reflection of your success. It's a tool to get you from point A to point B while you build actual wealth. Now you might be thinking, okay, Rayhan, this is great in theory, but I already have a car payment. What am I supposed to do now? All right, here's the actual action plan, and this works whether you're Gen X, millennial, or whatever. Step 1. Stop lying to yourself about what you can afford. If you're making a car payment, you can't afford that car. I don't care if the payment fits in your budget. If you need a loan to buy it, you can't afford it. Period. The only question is how fast can you afford to get out of it? Step 2. Calculate your real situation. Go to your loan statement right now. How much do you owe? What's your car actually worth? Use Kelley Blue Book, Carvana, CarMax. Get real numbers. If you're underwater, you owe more than it's worth, you need to figure out how underwater you are. Write that number down. If you have equity, it's worth more than you owe, write down that number too. Step 3. Make a plan based on your situation. If you're underwater, can you sell the car and pay off the difference? If you owe $18,000 and it's worth $15,000, can you come up with $3,000 to be done with this loan? If not, can you aggressively pay it down? Every extra dollar you can throw at this loan gets you closer to breaking even. Worst case, keep the car and vow to drive it until the wheels fall off once it's paid off. No more trading every few years. If you have equity, this is your chance. Sell it. Take that equity and buy a reliable used car in cash. Yes, it will be older. Yes, your friends might judge you. But you know what's better than a new car? Not having a $550 payment. Step 4. The cash-only rule going forward. Here's the rule that changed my life. I will never again borrow money for something that goes down in value. Cars go down in value, period. So cash only. But Rayhan, I don't have $25,000 in cash to buy a car. Then you don't buy a $25,000 car. You buy a $5,000 car. Is it going to be as nice? No. Is it going to hurt your ego? Maybe. But you know what's going to happen? You're going to keep that $5,000 car for 2 years while you save $550 a month, the payment you're not making. After 2 years, you have $13,220 saved. You sell the $5,000 car for probably $4,000. Now you have $17,220. You buy a $15,000 car in cash and keep saving. 2 more years, you've got another $13,220 saved, plus you can sell that $15,000 car for maybe $11,000. Now you've got $24,220. You can buy a really nice $20,000 car in cash. And you know what's wild? That whole time, 4 years, you've never made a car payment. You've never paid a dollar in interest, and you've been driving reliable transportation the entire time. Step 5. Invest the difference. This is where it gets really fun. Once you're driving paid-off cars, take that $550 a month and invest it. Roth IRA, index funds, whatever, just invest it. Because here's the thing, Gen X, you're in your 40s and 50s. You don't have 42 years till retirement. You've got maybe 15 to 20. You cannot afford to keep lighting money on fire on car payments. Millennials, you're in your 30s. You actually do have 30 to 35 years until retirement. The power of compound interest on your side is insane right now, but you're wasting it on 73-month car loans at 8.2%. The car you drive is not a reflection of your worth as a person. It's not a measure of your success. It's a machine that gets you to work so you can make money. That's it. And the sooner you start treating it that way, the sooner you start building actual wealth. I don't care if you're Gen X and you've been doing it the old way your whole life. I don't care if you're a millennial and you thought you were being smart by buying used. Both approaches are costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. The good news? You can change this today, right now. You can decide that you're done making car payments. You can decide that you're going to be the weird one driving a 10-year-old Camry while your friends are making $700 payments. And in 20 years, when they're still making payments and you're retired early because you invested that money instead, you're going to look back on this moment as the day everything changed. My challenge to you, pull up your car loan right now. Look at how much you owe. Look at how much you've paid in interest. Really sit with that number. Then ask yourself, is this car worth delaying your financial freedom? If the answer is no, it's time to make a change. If this video helped you see car debt differently, smash that like button and subscribe because we're going to keep talking about the uncomfortable money truths that nobody else wants to say. And hey, drop a comment and tell me, are you Gen X or Millennial? And what's your car situation? Let's talk about it. I'm Rayhan, and I'll see you in the next one.